Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Okay.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're just wrapping up our 6:15 meeting. We'll be right with you for our regular scheduled 7 o'clock. All right, Council, we're going to move on. The next item is 6, a rise from a closed session. We have a motion reads of the Council of the Town of Pantangasheen rise from an in-camera session with a report. Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Council, we had 3 items we discussed in camera, and we have a motion that reads that staff proceed as directed with an in-camera session regarding the QP 2380-05 outside bargaining unit mandate. I'll look for a mover on that, please. Moved by Councillor Drush, second by Councillor Marshaw. Comments and questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? and opposed? And that is carried. And we'll look for a motion to adjourn at 7:05 p.m. It's moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Vadabunker. All in favor? And we're adjourned. And Sarah, we good? Do you need a second? Good. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our regular council meeting for Wednesday, November the 12th, 2025. We're going to call our meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. Again, welcome. Council, we're going to start with our land acknowledgement. Penetanguishene respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people and their ancestors, now known as the Williams Treaties First Nations territory. This includes the Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Bosley First Nation, Rama First Nation, and the Georgina Island First Nation, Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. Also once home of the Huron-Wendat, and more recently the historic settlement of the Métis, Penetanguishene is now home to many Indigenous peoples. Penetanguishene is proud of its Indigenous name, and more importantly, that for thousands of years, it has been and will continue to be an important homeland and gathering place for Indigenous people. We recognize that we are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters and are responsible to ensure that our Mother the Earth is here for future generations. Councillor Marchand, if you could help us with the French version of the land acknowledgement, please.
Penetanguishene reconnaît avec respect que nous sommes situés sur le territoire traditionnel et de traité du peuple Anishinaabe et de ses ancêtres, maintenant connu sous le nom du territoire des Premières Nations visé des traités Williams. Il s'agit du conseil tripartite de Chippewa composé de la Première Nation de Beau-Soleil, de la Première Nation de Rama, de la Première Nation de Georgina Island, de la Première Nation d'Alderville, de la Première Nation de Curve Lake, de la Première Nation de Hiawatha et de la Première Nation de Mississauga du Scugog Island. De plus, Penetanguishene était jadis de lieu de résidence des Huron-Wendat et plus récemment des établissements métis historiques. La ville héberge aujourd'hui de nombreux peuples autochtones. Penetanguishene est fière de son nom autochtone et le plus important du fait que pendant des milliers d'années, elle était et continuerait d'être un important territoire et lieu de rassemblement des peuples autochtones. Nous reconnaissons que nous sommes les intendants et gardiens de cette terre et de ses eaux, et que nous sommes responsables de veiller à ce que notre mère, la terre, soit représentée pour des générations à venir.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marchand. Again, welcome everyone for joining us this evening. We have some familiar faces, so glad to have you with us tonight, and I am looking forward to that part of our agenda, so thank you for joining us. Council, if we can rise, we're going to start with our council commitment, and Councillor Waters, if you can start with our council commitment, please.
Thank you. We are grateful for the many gifts which have been bestowed on Penetanguishene and its citizens, including the gifts of freedom, opportunity, and the peace that we enjoy. May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. We ask that all in attendance and those that could not be here assist us in promoting good government. May our decisions as members of council be enlightened, and may we be strengthened in our awareness of our duties and responsibilities. May we be granted the wisdom, knowledge, will, and understanding to preserve the good fortune of the town for the benefit of all, and to make good laws and wise decisions. And thank you for attending.
Thank you very much, Councillor Waters. Councillor Rush, please.
Nous sommes reconnaissants des nombreuses grâces accordées à Penetanguishene et à ses citoyens dans les libertés, les possibilités et la paix dont nous jouissons. Que nous soyons des intendants dignes de tout ce que nous a été confié. Nous demandons que toutes les personnes présentes et celles qui n'ont pas pu se présenter nous aident à promouvoir une bonne gouvernance. Que nos décisions à titre de membres du Conseil soient éclairées et que nous soyons tous renforcés à prendre conscience de nos devoirs et responsabilités. Que l'on nous accorde la sagesse, les connaissances, la volonté et la compréhension qui nous permettront de préserver la bonne fortune de la ville au bénéfice de tous, ainsi que de faire de bonnes lois et de prendre de sages décisions. Merci de votre présence.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rush. Sarah, if you don't mind playing the public service announcement, I'd appreciate that.
and welcome to this evening's council meeting. Before we start, just a few messages. For those that require the washrooms are located just outside of council chambers, to the right, down the hall. Town Hall is protected by a single source fire alarm system. Should the fire alarm activate, please exit the building through the rear doors or the side doors, make your way down to the parking lot closest to the church. In the event of a medical emergency, please dial 911. The address for Town Hall is number 10 Robert Street West in Penetanguishene. And I'd like to remind everyone that we have a public access defibrillator just outside of council chambers. I wish you a safe and good council meeting. Bonsoir et bienvenue à la ville de Penetanguishene et à la salle de conseil. Avant que nous commençons ce soir, une couple de messages. Si vous avez besoin de les chambres de bain sont situées juste à l'extérieur de la salle de conseil, au bout du corridor à votre droite. La salle de conseil est protégée d'un système d'alarme à feu de 1 stage. Si l'alarme à feu sonne, veuillez quitter la salle de conseil par les portes à l'arrière ou de côté et on se rejoint dans le stationnement près de l'église. En cas de problèmes médicaux, veuillez signaler le 911. L'adresse ici est le numéro 10 rue Robert-Ouest à Penetanguishene. Et je veux vous rappeler qu'il y a un défibrillateur public juste à l'extérieur de la caserne. Je vous souhaite une bonne soirée. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Council, we're going to move on. Our next item is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion reads that the agenda of the regular council meeting for November the 12th, 2025 be approved as presented. It's moved by Councilor LaRue, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Council, anybody have a declaration of peculiar interest this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 7, our open forum. For members of the public, open forum is an opportunity for anyone to address council on anything that's important to you. About any topic. You're limited to 2 minutes to address council on any topic. We'd ask that you register with Madam Clerk before. Madam Clerk, is anyone registered for open forum this evening?
Thank you, Your Worship. There's no one registered for open forum this evening. Thank you.
Did anybody in attendance want to address council about anything this evening? Okay. Council, moving on. 8 is statement by members, an opportunity for council to share with the public the work they're doing on your behalf. Councilor LaRue.
Thank you, Your Worship. November the 16th, I attended the Museum Committee meeting. November the 18th, 25, I attended the Sports Hall of Fame dinner. On November the 29th, I attended the Committee of the Whole meeting budget review. November the 11th, I attended the Remembrance Day ceremonies at a town cenotaph. And that same date, November 11, I attended the Veterans Dinner at the Penetanguishene Legion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor LaRue. Councilor Marsha.
Thank you, merci, Your Worship. A few things for me throughout the month of October. I chaired the Trails Committee meeting on October 14th, and always nice to have our Trails Committee back at full force, and had a really productive meeting. October 9th, also participated at the GBGH presentation with regards to what's going on with our community hospital, which is always informative. And then October 30th, I participated as the vice chair for the SSEA board, and we had our Q3 board meeting. So that was it and everything for me. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councilor Marshall. Councilor Vadbonker.
Thank you, Your Worship. I attended the Sports Hall of Fame dinner as well, and also attended the Remembrance Day ceremonies yesterday at the cenotaph, and it was very well attended. Quite impressive ceremony. On Saturday, just past, I attended for the day the Waypoint Center for Mental Health Advance over at the Chickabing building. We were there all day to talk about the priorities for the hospital going forward. One matter to update council on is with respect to the work that's going on at the intersection of Fuller and Robert Street. I was advised and actually saw it because I drove that way, was that we were successful in getting the base course of asphalt down there, which was a big plus for the municipality. It was quite an adventure, I could say, to travel that, especially during wet weather. It was, we got quite potholy, if I could use that term, but it's nice to see the base course of asphalt down, and nice to see the curbs and work is continuing. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councilor Vadbonker. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Some of them have already been said. The one that we didn't is His Worship himself and myself. We attended an event down in Tay Township with our MPP Jill Dunlop to receive some funding for the municipality. I also had the pleasure of attending our Sports Hall of Fame dinner, a very well done event put on by the volunteers, and it's very nice to see all of our active members in town coming out to a full house. I also attended the Public Information Center for the budget at the Brian Orser Hall. I understand we didn't have as many people at the night one as we did in the afternoon one, but it was good to see some people out there. And wanted to remark that we did the parade for the Remembrance Day ceremony yesterday, and it was very nice, very well done, very well attended. It was went off without a hitch. It was nice to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Rush.
Thank you very much. I attended the Wellbeing and Accessibility Committee meeting on October 16th. And it's always great to meet with this group because they're very eager to invest in the town. I also attended the Remembrance Day flag raising on October 31st. It was a rainy day, but the people who attended, of course, brought it to a whole new level. I also attended the Remembrance Day ceremony, and I also attended the budget pick, the Public Information Center, but it was the evening session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rush. Councillor Waters.
Pretty much a lot of what everybody else did. I think the most important thing I did was the Remembrance Day ceremony, and I'm pleased to say there was a lot of people there, and it's probably one of the most important things that we do all year.
Well said, Councillor Waters. Thank you. CO Lees.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple updates. On October 15th, we hosted a Respect in the Workplace training session for all staff as well as our leadership team. So we had separate sessions, which went off very well. On October 28th, we hosted our twice per year all staff meeting, and a real good opportunity to engage our team, ensure that our team has the information that they need to continue operationally. We had a roads winter operations meeting on October 29th. So this is something we host every year pre-winter, and timing was impeccable. So whoever teed that up in Brian's division, well done. But a real good opportunity just to talk about kind of winter operations and what worked well and how we're going to proceed moving forward. November 3rd to 5th, the County of Simcoe, the City of Barrie, and the Town of Innisfil host an annual leadership forum, and it's over a 3-day period. This year's theme was really around fearless government and AI. So a number of our leadership team members participated in that, both virtually and in person. And then last but not least, our budget preparations, which has been noted, but certainly staff throughout the entire organization play a role. So kudos to the team in the role that they played in bringing the budget to where it is today. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Celis. Council, thank you for sharing. I participated in most of the things that you were at. I will comment, Celis, thanks for the invite for the all staff, but unfortunately I couldn't go that day. The Deputy Mayor and I were at budget at County, but thanks for the invite and appreciate the work that you do for that. I just want to echo the comments that were said. The Legion, I think, did a great job yesterday. Great turnout of the Cenotaph and Councillor. They had a great dinner last night. The Legion does a great job, and I think we shall take time to reflect and respect and honor the work. I also participated, Council, in the Big Brothers Big Sisters had their 50th anniversary last week. So I went to their event, and they do tremendous work in our community, as we know. So I went to that last week. Also participate on behalf of the Southern Georgia Bay OPP Detachment Board, the interviews for the next detachment commander, who's now been appointed and will be here in place in December 15th they start, and we'll share that out shortly. And the rest of the stuff I was at with you, so thank you. Council, we'll move on to the next item is our public meeting. We have nothing this evening, and 10 is delegations and presentations. We have 2 this evening. So the first one we want to acknowledge, earlier this year, students from St. Joseph School reached out to the municipality and they wanted to present a letter, and we shared that letter through our council information package. And the letter was done talking about how our website, as we recall when we shared that here, was not bilingual, and that the students found that that wasn't appropriate. They were doing some research in school, and they found that our neighbors had bilingual websites and we did not. And they wanted to present that to me at one of the days at class. So I did, and I want to thank Councillor Roux for coming. I know when I got there, they were surprised, but I thought it would be appropriate to have a francophone council member to be with, so we could have proper dialogue. So I want to recognize the school community, the teachers, and the students that called us out and said, we expect more. So we heard you, and thank you so much for your leadership. We don't have one of those big staples that was easy button, but let's pretend we do. Sarah is our communications expert, and Sarah's been working hard, not just for the request from you, but for the entire community. How can we make our communications more accessible? I would think this council and this community and our staff have worked hard to make sure that we are providing appropriate communications that's accessible to everyone. And hats off to Sarah for the tremendous work she's done, because she has hit this out of the park. And I'm going to turn it over to Sarah to really celebrate the tremendous work you've done. And Sarah, on behalf of council and our community, I want to thank you for making this a reality.
Thank you, Your Worship. So members of council, staff, and our students from St. Joseph, I'm pleased to officially launch our language feature, as well as our AODA accessibility tool. Before we switch to French, I'd like to share a few highlights from the tool. So if you visit our website, like you'll see on the screen, you'll notice a blue circle in the bottom left-hand corner. Unfortunately, right now it is showing up black. By clicking on this circle, you can choose from 16 different accessibility options to make the site more inclusive, whether it's larger text, high contrast, or screen reading. This feature wasn't a part of your original request, but during our research into language conversions, we discovered it aligned perfectly with our strategic plan. So it's a wonderful addition to make our site more accessible for all of our residents. So now, looking at the language feature, you'll see that we've not only added French, we've added 59 additional languages to our residents to choose from. So Mayor Rawson, council, and students, if I can get a drum roll, please. There you go.
Sarah, thank you so much. And I know that wasn't just as easy as just flipping a button. I know that was a little bit of work, but thank you so much. And I want to thank our school community for having the courage, one, to reach out, and two, to call us out. And thank you. I think, this process, I think, worked, and everyone does their part to make the community stronger and better. And on behalf of our council, I want to thank you all for the work you've done, and you can be proud of what you see there. Now, you had a role to play in that work. Thank you so much. Sarah, what do you think if we have the school group come up and we get a big photo together? All right, council, we'll move on. Sarah, again, thank you so much. That was tremendous. And I think you saw the smiles, and many people are going to benefit from that enhancement. So thank you for your work on that. Councilor, we'll move on to the next items. 10B is a presentation from our Chief Administrative Officer. Is regarding an update regarding the 20-year community-based strategic plan. Elise, the floor is yours. This is a tremendous presentation, so I look forward to it. And my timer broke on the 10-minute timer, so the floor is yours and use as much as you need.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Worship. Appreciate that. So what you see on the screen is essentially a 2-year update of our 20-year community-based strategic plan. So we undertook at the start of this term of council a 20-year community-based strategic plan, which is a pretty fulsome document that council and the community is familiar with. And so what we did as a leadership team is went through that, and this is really kind of a 2-year check-in to see where we're at with that 20-year community-based strategic plan. So if we go to the next slide. So really, I'm going to walk through the 6 different themes and just provide a bit of a progress update on the various action items within each of those 6 themes. Council will recall that we had phenomenal community participation through this exercise when we did it in 2023. And it really is a document that, you know, council and the community own. And this is really the guiding direction that we as a leadership team and we as a staff as a whole follow and drive towards in everything that we do as an organization administratively. If we move to the next slide, really this the presentation, I'm going to just kind of talk at a high level at where we've come with over the last 24 months. There is a detailed version of this presentation, which is also on the agenda and appended to the high-level summary version. And both this version, the summary version and the detailed version, will be available on our website following this evening for the community to access. So our next slide, we really kind of highlight here the various short-term, medium-term, and long-term action items. And that's how we've categorized the progress that we've undertaken. And council will recall the document itself actually does break down the short-term 0 to 5 years, medium-term 5 to 10, and long-term 10 to 20 years items that we have. And you'll see there the various breakdowns of kind of where we're at in terms of being in progress, awaiting action, and completed. And if we just focus on, and I'm going to use this screen here, but if we just focus on the short-term action items, the 0 to 5, you'll see that, you know, a little under 90% of those are in progress, which is really what we would expect to see 2 years in. We have a smaller amount that are either awaiting action and even a similar amount that are completed. And then again, as you head into the 5 to 10 year range, we've got about 3/4 of those that are awaiting action. So makes sense from a timing perspective, given we're 2 years into the strategic plan. So pretty proud. I would suggest that our leadership team is pretty proud of where we're at currently, and really happy to see what comes forward moving ahead. What I would say is that all the ongoing action items are in progress and continuous with no defined date. So if there are items that are categorized as ongoing, they are in progress and will continue to be in progress over the duration. If we go to the next slide. So we're going to start with theme 1. And theme 1 is a vibrant community with a small town feel. So you'll see here, again, I'm going to focus primarily on the short-term action items because that's the range that we're in today. A little under 3/4 of those are in progress in theme 1. With 14% awaiting action and 14% completed. And then, you know, as you move forward, you see between the 5 to 10 and 10 to 20 year range, the percentages that are in progress, awaiting action and completed. And if we move to the next slide, just some notable highlights on theme 1, this vibrant community with a small town feel. We talk a little bit about the community improvement plan that we underwent and the review and update approximately 10 months ago. We completed the parking study with a recommendation report scheduled to be presented this evening. And then we introduced the Economic Development Officer role this year, along with the launch of a Shop Local campaign. In addition to that, we continue to implement the Business Retention and Expansion 2021 study and the 2023 Market Gap study, which are both, key recommendations out of both of those studies continue to be implemented. And then what you don't see on the slide as well, but we did update our business recognition policy, which I think is a tremendous accomplishment as we recognize our long-serving businesses. And we just did a handful of those last month. If we move to the next slide, we move into theme 2. 100% of our short-term actions in theme 2 are in progress. So something to be proud of. Half of our 5 to 10 year items are in progress and half are awaiting action. So again, pretty impressive when you think about the number of action items across this theme, which is think regionally to increase efficiencies. If we move to our next slide, we've got a couple notable accomplishments in theme 2. One is we currently have a joint microtransit request for proposal that has been released, and it focuses on assessing a potential microtransit model intended to improve efficiency, service flexibility, and rider experience. And then the second piece there is we continue to explore shared services. So we have extended our building services agreement with the town of Midland. The SSEA, or Severn Sound Environmental Authority, conducting a third-party review of the funding allocation calculation in the agreement. And then, as I just talked about, the release of the microtransit RFP. There's also some others that we are currently undertaking with the county of Simcoe, which I'll talk a little bit about in a future theme. If we move to the next slide, which is theme 3, an inclusive Penetanguishene, community celebrations and volunteerism. Again, 100% of our short-term items are in progress, which is great, given we're in year 2 of year 5 of that short-term timeline. And if we move forward to the next slide, a couple notable highlights for theme 3. One is the completion of our heritage designation project, which resulted in 6 new designated properties, as well as pending council approval this evening, but to support Leclerc in hosting a Francophone tourism event. And that was as a result of the formation of the Summer Cultural Ad Hoc Committee that was formed last year. So again, an opportunity to celebrate the community and the volunteerism within. If we move to the next slide, theme 4, a healthy community promoting healthy living, well-being, and an active lifestyle for all ages. And we do have our community well-being committee, which does a tremendous job in supporting a number of these action items. Again, 100% of our short-term items are in progress, which is great to see. And if we move forward to our next slide, there's a number of accomplishments, and I know that slide's busy, but the first part there talks about our cycling strategy and how we have achieved significant accomplishments through that process. Certifying staff members, collaborating with the Simcoe-Muskoka District Health Unit to enhance the active school travel initiatives. And we know that we have several schools in our community. We introduced a new cycling festival. And then there was many more initiatives that we were successful in implementing in 2024, on top of what you see on the slide there. We continue to implement the climate action and adaptation strategy, which did result in the addition of an electric vehicle to our town fleet, and an agreement with an electric vehicle charging vendor. So we did add several stations within the community. And then the last piece there talks about best recycling practices. So we did add some green bins at both Town Hall and our Penetanguishene Memorial Community Center. And as we know, we're partway through our recreation parks and trails strategy, which again is supportive of this theme. If we move forward to the next slide, theme 5, celebrate Penetanguishene, highlight its unique heritage and culture. And again, 100% of our short-term action items are in progress, which is great to see. And if we move forward to our next slide, a couple notable accomplishments or achievements here. We are in the process of preparing a request for proposals to retain a consultant who will oversee the Penetanguishene's brand identity. So this was one specific action item within this theme. And we're also scheduled to collaborate with BC Hughes and partners to create a strategic growth plan for Winterama. And that was one of the action items within the strategy, was to continue to grow Winterama as a signature event, which is great. And we know how important that event is to the community in bringing everyone forward. If we move forward to our next slide, theme 6, these were corporate initiatives. So they couldn't be categorized in any of the first 5 themes, but, were a whole host of different action items. And as you'll see there, we have 50% of those that are in progress and 50% awaiting action. And if we move to the next slide, just some notable highlights for theme 6. So council will recall we did update our asset management plan, so we're fully compliant with our regulatory requirements as of July 1st, 2025. We are currently in the process of developing a long-term strategic financial plan. So we have engaged BMA Consulting to do that. And that's an important piece to the community sustainability from a financial perspective. We established, or reestablished, I should say, a service excellence working committee. They met last month. We've got a total of 9 staff across the organization, which is pretty impressive when you think about our full-time staff being 60. We have a very good representation across the organization that are playing a part and being part of that service excellence working committee. As part of an initiative, and I touched on this earlier, but as part of an initiative to strengthen our collaboration with the County of Simcoe, we've participated in emergency management exercises and actually had the county lead us through those, as well as we transitioned to the Simcoe County Insurance Pool, which was an exciting opportunity. I guess what I would say is these, and I touched on some in theme 6 here, but a lot of these, even though, we may say we're complete, a number of these will continue to be on our radar and continue to make it headway where we can, and an exciting opportunity. As I noted before, everything that we do as administration, we really try to tie back to the strategic plan and really try to be cognizant of, staying on target and keeping the ship heading in the direction that council and ultimately the community has asked us to through this 20-year community strategic plan document. So, Your Worship, if we go to the next slide, Your Worship, I'd be happy to take any questions. And, although I'm here presenting this, it really is the result of not only the leadership team, but also a number of their members of their team that have got us to where we are today. So, Your Worship, I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Ciolise. I've had positive comments from the placards, the signs at the arena here. We've had them at our public information sessions. And I think the vision is great. And like you said, it helps us on our path forward. So thank you for the work you and your team does. Council, questions or comments? Councillor Vedabunker.
Thank you, Worship. Just a comment. Great presentation. Really informative, really lays it out. And in the agenda package, there's even more information. So anybody has an opportunity to read it, it really captures all the work that's been done. So good job.
Councillor Marcia.
Yeah, I would just also echo those comments as well. And just, I think it's so important to have a strategic plan and a vision. There's a lot of great work that gets done all the time, and it is the work that we do all the time. And it's nice that it really formulates. And we know that a lot of work went into creating this 20-year strategic plan. And it is great that we're so proud of it. We're presenting and reporting back on it, which is really important because we don't always understand what it really means when you build a strategic plan. But when you see the themes and what's being delivered, it really pulls together all of that feedback and what the community's asked of us and what staff has been asked to do, and also gives them recognition to highlight that their work does not go unnoticed. So thank you very much. That was a great presentation.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much, Ciolise. We appreciate your presentation this evening. Council, move on. Next item is number 11, is the adoption minutes not already confirmed. The motion reads the following: minutes of the council meetings be confirmed and adopted as circulated. Council for October the 8th, 2025. Special Council of October 29th, 2025. We'll look for mover. Councillor Vedabunker, seconded by Councillor Waters. Comments and questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. All right, we'll move on to number 12 is our consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull any further comment on these before we read the consent motion? Yeah, so do I. Why don't we open up for comments then, and then we'll do the motion at the end. So, Councillor Vetterbunkers.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to speak briefly to the memo from the planner dealing with Bill 60. There are a number of changes in there, very significant potentially to the municipality. That bill is an omnibus bill. It's being fast-tracked through the provincial legislature. If it does get approved, it will have impacts. The next comment I have, Your Worship, is on the memo from the Director of Public Works dealing with the automated speed enforcement. That's another good memo that provides an update on where the municipality was with respect to implementation. I can say that, Your Worship, that we only, as a municipality, we're looking to install or had installed 2 of the 4 that were proposed. And in the memo, the director outlines that a future report will be coming forward outlining how much the municipalities expended on this program, unfortunately canceled by the province. So further information to come on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marchand, any other comments? Okay. Any other comments or questions on any of the items on our consent agenda for any of the members? Just a couple. Councillor Vetterbunkers, thanks for the automated speed enforcement. There is a lot of questions from the community about that. I appreciate there'll be more coming. Just to remind everyone in the community, when this came up last month with our update, we knew that there's impending legislation, but as you alluded, Councillor Vetterbunkers, that legislation already went through, passed, and has received a sense that's done, and staff working through that process. So thank you, and we'll look forward to getting that information as we move forward. My second one's regarding the microtransit, and maybe the CEO, you can help. I've had a lot of people in the community ask about where we're going. I've really assured everyone, transits as it is today is the way it is. There has been no decisions made by council, but I think there's a little bit of unrest, and people aren't really clear what the expectations are. I think the memo does outline what the expectations are, but I'm just wondering if you can just help clarify what, from a community's perspective, what are we doing and what's the timelines from an expectation? Last night, the Remembrance Day dinner, I had many people ask me again, when does the cancellation happen? I reassured everyone that's not what we're trying to do, but I know it's in the memo, but would you mind just giving everyone an update where we are and maybe what the timelines look like and what we can expect?
Thank you, Your Worship. So actually, as recent as, I guess, this afternoon, Director Murray and myself had a call with our friends at the town of Midland to talk about this very project or initiative, I should say. And so what Midland has shared with council on their end and what I did share with council earlier today via email, but happy to share with council this evening as well for the community's sake, is that we will be, the decision regarding the next phase of the project, which ultimately is a staff report coming to committee of the whole to make a decision, has been deferred until the new year. So at one point we had anticipated on bringing something in November, December, but given a number of different moving parts and a number of different complexities, we will be deferring that staff report to committee of the whole until the new year. This is going to allow us some additional time to ensure that all aspects of the initiative are reviewed and assessed and analyzed before making a recommendation to council on how we proceed with transit as a whole. And so as a result of that delay, inevitably the January 1st, 2026 implementation will not happen. What we, as a group of 2 municipalities, meaning Midland and Penetanguishene, are articulating to our councils and ultimately the community is that the project implementation will be deferred until summer 2026. So if there's changes, for example, being recommended, and there may or may not be, then those changes would not take place until summer 2026. So we're going to continue to work with our friends in Midland, and we will be releasing something publicly so that the public has the same information that I've just shared, and ultimately that Midland has shared with their council as well. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we appreciate the community and council's patience and support. It's a project that does require thoughtful steps forward and needs to be well planned to ensure that the service being delivered today and in 6 and 12 and 18 and 24 months is well thought out and the most efficient and effective possible. So, Your Worship, hopefully that provides a bit of an update. Thank you.
It does, and I appreciate that very much, Elise. And I guess one more thing, if we can, we're ways away from decision. We're ways away from implementation if we go down to implementation. But I've also reassured everyone we will be communicating, we'll be informing, we'll be coaching, we'll be providing tools to be successful. We're not going to decide on Monday and Tuesday it goes live. So there's more information to come. The other one I'll just highlight, Council, we've already talked about, but it's 12D. Sarah, again, thank you so much for the work that was done on the website being accessible for the entire community. I appreciate the memo, how it closes that for everyone, but thank you for the work done on that. Council, any other comments on our consent agenda items this evening? Okay, the motion reads that the following consent agenda items having been given due consideration be received for information. It's moved by the Deputy Mayor. It's seconded by Councillor Vadabunker. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. We're going to move on to 13, matters for consideration. 13A is regarding a memo from the legislative coordinator. Before I read this motion, does anybody have any comments or questions on this item? See none. Motion reads that the Wellbeing Accessibility Committee provide feedback on the Town Dock Secondary Plan and support the Town Dock Advisory Committee in creating a space that includes accessibility, a connected trail system, a gathering space for residents, designated green space, and an age-friendly features such as shading and seating. It's moved by Councillor Drush, seconded by Councillor Waters. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, go for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. All right, before we read this next motion, Council, we have a report regarding our multi-use recreation center. A little while ago, we asked staff to provide some more work. We sanctioned Colliers to do that work for us to preempt the financial plan and the budget for us this year. So we have a fulsome report that helps us with that decision-making process as we move forward. Thank you, Sherry, for the work done on this. Council, comments and questions on this item? Okay, see none. Councillor Vadabunker.
Thank you, Worship. I was looking around the horseshoe to see if anybody else was going to jump in, but thank you. Excellent report. Thank you very much for bringing it forward. I thought the Colliers report was excellent as well. Really laid out a game plan in multiple stages or phases. I have some concerns with respect to the proposed budget allocations. I'll get to those in a second. One of the key recommendations in the reports, as I read, is that there are multiple steps in order for the municipality to get ready to construct a facility of this magnitude. And the first step is doing due diligence. And what Colliers talks about due diligence is doing the geotechnical work, the archaeological work, assessing the services to determine that the services are adequate, water and sewer, et cetera, et cetera. And those are all important things that studies and reports that need to be done in order that the architects and the designers can design a facility for the site. And so in the report, it talks about needing to do those things, and it gives a high and a low estimate of those things. And I'm fully supportive of doing that. In the report, it also talks about how much money is in our reserve, and it talks we have about $890,000 in our reserve. And the cost of the work that's proposed by Colliers, that due diligence work, is about $1.4 million. So we're short a bit in our reserve to undertake this due diligent work. So the proposal in the budget is that the capital plan be increased for 2026, $450,000. And that in 2027, it'd be increased $900,000. So that's a significant increase in terms of contribution. And I'm all for that. This facility in 2021, at the high end, the option that was presented and approved by council was $49 million. So that was in 2021. So apply some inflation to that and you know where the cost of that building is going. So we're a long way away from having the dollars in order to be able to either contribute a share through a grant program or build it ourselves or have half the money in the bank and debenture the other half. We're a ways away. But this due diligence work is very, very important. And Colliers outlines the next step in terms of doing some preliminary design work, and that's another cost. So there are a lot of good things in this report, Your Worship. I'm just struggling a little bit with the dollar allocation. You may have some thoughts on that yourself in terms of how best to stick handle this through our budget process. It is pretty significant in terms of what the costs are, and I think we should just be mindful of that as we proceed. I don't disagree with what's being proposed in terms of doing the due diligence, but I think we should be cautious about how much we're adding to the budget.
Thank you, Councillor Vedabunker. Any other comments or questions from council? Not seeing any hands. Okay, CEO Lees, do you or Madam Director have any comments or follow-up regarding Councillor Vedabunker's comments?
Thank you, Worship. Maybe I'll ask Director Desjardins to speak first, and then if there's anything I'd like to add, I'll go from there.
Thank you for the opportunity. I don't have any additional comments other than what's been provided in the staff report. Thank you.
Your Worship, thank you. The only thing that I would add is I think in the report, in the conclusion, and I appreciate Councillor Vedabunker's comments, in Table 1 and Table 2, it does talk about low end and high end. So certainly we were cognizant of that. The report does talk about how the low end and high end has kind of been estimated through Colliers. And so we tried to come up with something that we think is realistic, somewhere between the low end and high end, to plan and budget accordingly. And that's kind of how we landed where we landed with the numbers that you see in the report. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Vedabunker.
Thank you, and I appreciate the work that's gone into this. I did reach out to the director earlier today because there's a term used in the report called shovel ready. And I beg to differ with the director how that term was used in the report, because my comment was that the work that's being proposed, at least that due diligent work, is not getting the project to the point where it would be shovel ready. There's a few other steps that are required, like the design or having some design done, but I understand the context after the director explained to me the context and how that word was used in the report. But I don't want anybody to get a misunderstanding that doing this work would get us to the point where we could put a shovel in the ground tomorrow. The other thing that strikes me, and if I may, Your Worship, just one more comment. All the discussion and the planning in the report is directed to a construction start of 2033, which is 7 years away. And I alluded to this earlier about the cost of this facility. As you know, and I think members of council know, I'm very passionate about this project. I think it's something that the municipality needs, but I'm not sure whether that timeline is realistic. I'd like to keep it there because I think it's a good benchmark, but my comment is we may have to revisit that, because that was set in 2021. Here we are heading into 2026. 7 years from now, we're probably looking at a 50 million plus project. 2033 may not be realistic. I'd like to see it happen, but I'm just putting that out there. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. And I think the shovel ready, maybe the context we should be using is grant ready. And we need to have some things ready so that we're ready for grants. And I think this helps us on that path. I agree, the shovel ready context may make people think we're going to start construction tomorrow. We want to have the best application so then we can secure funds, because I agree with you. We don't really have too many pennies in the piggy bank. And this is a big ticket item. And we're all passionate about this becoming a reality. But the financial reality might not make it happen in 2033. That's what we want, but it may not. But what are the things we need to do to get ready for success? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think the councillor hit it right on the head. I think we need to take a step back and look at this financially, just to see there's a large difference between 20+ million and 50+ million. The community has not grown a whole lot in the last little while, and I just wonder what taking on that amount of debt would do to the rest of our financial stability in the town. Over the last couple of years, we haven't added a lot to our capital project for our regular everyday items like roads and sidewalks. That's been going down, not up. So I'm a little concerned with adding an extra 450,000 this year and 900,000 next year, just to get us through to the point where they tell us that it's going to be 50 million. And are we ready to take on that debt?
Now we got hands. Councillor Drush.
Thank you very much. I mean, for years we've been talking about this, and we've been talking about the money, and we've been talking about, are we going to be able to make it? Are we going to do it? It's in our strat plan. The community if you've gone to the arena, we need to do something. Communities are built around community centers. They're built around museums. They're built around libraries. They're not built around roads. They're not built around water. They're built around centers like this. And I know it's frightening and all that good stuff, but we've got to pull the plug. We've got to move forward and be bold with our decision, because otherwise we're going to be stewing about this in 20 years. And we won't have an arena. We won't have anything to keep our community here in Penetanguishene. So, I have faith in the staff that we have in place. I have faith that as a council, we can put our minds together to figure out how to move forward, but we've got to move forward. We've got to pull the plug. So I'm wholeheartedly in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Drush. Councillor LaRue.
Thank you, Worship. I think many of you know that my agenda for the last 15 years has been a new arena, but the thing that I'm concerned with is pointed out by yourself is that I feel that we should move ahead, as Councillor Duresh has pointed as well, to move ahead to the point of being grant ready. I know that shovel ready is a little more complicated in there, but at the same time, I think that we should move ahead to be grant ready.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Councillor LaRue. Any other comments? Okay. Council, the motion reads that we proceed as we've been discussing, and that we ask staff to take the recommendation in Colliers, that we take this capital planning that Councillor Vadabakar spoke about, the due diligence work, and add it and bring it forward into our budget deliberations for draft number 2. I agree with what you're saying, Councillor Duresh. We need to move forward. My one question, and I'm going to ask COLs, is where or when in this process do we decide what are we doing? 1 pad, 2 pad, rink, pool, a walking track, a pickleball? Like, when do we do that work? And I ask because we're doing the rec master plan. And part of what we've heard from the rec master plan is the needs and wants today are different than needs and wants of 2014. And I'm just wondering, are we making a decision based on good data of today or historical context? As I'm just wondering from the COO or Madam Director, when does that, I'll use that design look and feel, when do we get into that stage of this process, assuming we move forward as we've outlined here tonight?
Thank you. So I can start to respond to some of that. One of the your worship, to some of your questions, we start right away as soon as we onboard our project manager. One of the first things we need to sort out are our partnerships. For example, the 2021 study suggests that we replace the current arena and the curling club with this facility. So we need to define, is the curling club on board or not on board? That will be a huge functional piece in capacity, square footage of the facility, and the footprint. If the plan says that if we do build curling, that we build that ice surface big enough that if curling changes, that we can convert it to a second ice hockey surface, for example. So looking further ahead and making sure that whatever we build can be modified and adapted based on the growing or changing needs. We know the trends in sports change, trends in participation, what people can afford, what sports they can afford to participate in. It's always fluctuating. It depends on growth. It depends on demographics. So it's an ongoing conversation, but I don't suspect that the final design and what amenities are included or not included will be complete until council has an approved design that we go to tender with.
Sealys.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just add on to what Director Desjardins has spoke about. And if you go to 4.0 in the study, which is kind of the earlier part, page 7 of the document itself, it talks about the partnership exploration, defining what those partnerships look like. It talks about concepts and renderings, and that really starts kind of mid-late 2026 right through to the end of 2027 in this 2-year plan. So as the director has noted, this is kind of a continuous conversation, but at the end of the day, council will have the final say in terms of what the precise design looks like. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Sealys. Councillor Vedabunker.
Thank you. That's all very helpful. I think the starting point, though, is the decision that council made in 2021 that picked an option which had the arena curling club. So it's testing the validity of that assumption based on the changes that you've outlined, Madam Director, and other needs within the organization. But we have a starting point from that decision, and then whatever other adjustments that we may make through that process over the next couple of years.
All right, Council, any other comments or questions? I think it's an exciting time. We've talked about partnerships. Councillor Vedabunker, you talked a little while ago about disappointment about not being able to move forward with Burkeville. But I think us moving forward with this creates opportunity with partnerships with whoever feels that they can partner to make this become a reality. So it's exciting times. The motion reads that $450,000 be added to the 2026 capital plan and $900,000 be added to the 2027 capital plan in draft 2 of the 2026 capital plan, and the staff return to committee of the whole with options to address the staffing needs associated with advancing the MERC projects. Moved by Councillor LaRue, second by Councillor DeRush. Further comments or questions? Councillor Vedabunker.
So in the report, it talks about these funds being added through the MERC reserve. So we're fine for 2026 because we have sufficient reserve dollars. Where we may see a pinch point is in 2027 because we would have taken some money out of that reserve and we may not have put enough money into it to cover year 2. So I'm supportive of this. I think it's the way to go. I think the due diligence is critical in terms of getting us to being grant ready, but just that caution. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Treasurer, we'll see that and be able to look at that in more detail at draft number 2 next week. Thank you. Further comments, questions? We have mover and second. We're going to call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Well, Madam Director, we're moving the ball down the field. We don't know what the field looks like, but we're moving it down, eh? 14th presentation consideration report regarding committee of the whole for October the 8th, 2025's meeting. And we'll start with Councillor Roux. Oh, sorry. We'll start with, I'm misreading here. Councillor Vedabunker, Teeny, sorry. I went to RCS.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I'll be highlighting the October 8th Transportation Environmental Services section. We had no consent items on the agenda, and we considered 4 items. The first item was the salt management plan for 2025 update, and section is recommending that be approved. Also recommending that 2 phases of the Belil Heights development subdivision be accepted, phase 3 and phase 4. Securities will be retained for both those phases to ensure any outstanding deficiencies are addressed. And the major topic of discussion that evening was the consideration of options for the future role of the Fox Street sewage treatment plant. Committee had considered the options outlined in the staff report and the J.L. Richards visioning report, and at the end, after much discussion and information sharing, Committee of the Whole referred that matter back to staff for further consideration. There were 2 referrals on the referral list. There were no new referrals added, and that wraps up the Transportation Environmental Services section meeting. So I'll move, and seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that Council approve the recommendations and actions from the October 8th Transportation Environmental Services section meeting.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bunker. Anybody wish to pull anything for the comment or discussion? See none's moved. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Councillor, Recreation Community Services, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Committee of the Whole for Recreation Community Services of October 8, 25 had 3 items for information. One was the Penetanguishene Public Library Board minutes of May 26th and June 18th. 2, there was the Museum and Heritage Committee meeting minutes of June 12, 25. And 3, it was a All Things Canadian Post event summary. We had 1 matter for consideration, being the summer cultural event recommendations, and 1 future event item, memorial opportunity. So it is moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan Rose that the recommendations contained within Committee of the Whole report related to recreation and community services be approved.
Thank you, Councillor. Does anybody wish to put anything for further comment or debate? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor Rush, please.
Thank you. The Planning and Community Development Services section had 1 consent agenda item, and it was the Municipal Law Enforcement Monthly Activity Report for August 2025. There were no matters for consideration. Only 1 item remains on the referral list, and that is 161 Church Street and options for future use. As the Chair of the Planning and Community Development Services section, I move the motion, seconded by Vice Chair Bill Waters, that the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to this section be approved.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rush. Anybody wish to pull anything for further comment or discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Councillor Marchand, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. For Finance and Corporate Services, we had 1 consent agenda item, and that was the report from, it was created by the CAO regarding AMO. We had 2 items for consideration. The first was the draft 2026 Council and COW dates. The second was the fire feasibility study. We had no new items added to referral, and we did remove 1 item, the electronic signs. As the chair, supported by myself, seconded by Councillor Waters, I'm putting forward that the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to Finance and Corporate Services section be approved.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marchand. Anybody wish to point in for the comment or debate? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. All right, move on to number 15A is presentations and consideration report for special committees. And this is regarding our budget 1 of October 29th. Anybody wish to point anything for further comment or discussion? Seeing none, I have 1, and I'm hopeful council can indulge. We all did our staff or our surveys. We did public surveys, staff surveys, council surveys. One of the things I put in, and I talked to the CEO afterwards, and everything that we put in our surveys is not necessarily included in the budget. It might have been used during the planning process. One that I put in my survey that I would like consideration, I'm going to ask if we could ask if staff could bring this forward at budget draft number 2. Currently, our communications officer is a halftime role, and it's shared between tech and communications. And I'd argue a lot of the positive work that we do in the community is communications. I think we need to increase the capacity of that role to be a full-time position as opposed to a 0.5. And it doesn't matter if it's things we hear about microtransit to budget, it all comes down to how well we communicate to the public. And I think we've done some really, really good things, as we saw with the website tonight, or our WhatsApp newsletter that we've put in a bilingual format. There's lots of really good things we're doing, but from what I hear and see in our community, it's all about communication, how well we can communicate out to the public. I would like to see council, if we can see what that would look like. I'd like to see in draft 2, what would that be from an increased cost to us for our consideration next time. So I'd like to move that, see if council would entertain that for inclusion next round. Could you move it? Because I'm sharing it, if you don't mind.
Want me to repeat what you just said? Do you have it? Pretty much? I'll move that.
So thank you. And then do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Roux. Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions? Councillor Drush.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to hearing about it, but I'd like to also hear from staff about the repercussions it would have with the tech side and where that would land as that 0.5. Like, I'd just like to know the logistics of that and why it hasn't been raised. Is it because they don't see the need, or anyway, I'd like to hear from staff why this hasn't been brought forward, but I definitely will be supporting.
Fair. We'll turn to the CO. So I think from an ask, maybe we could look for a budgetary ask in draft number 2, and then what are the ramifications on the IT and technology pieces that would have to look to elsewhere. We'll look to the CO, see if they can report back on that. Any further comments or questions for anyone on this item? Okay, CO Lee, is that fair as a move forward?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I think what we could do is we could put together a brief memo to incorporate in the draft version 2 budget, just to give a little bit of the context and background that has been noted or requested. So I think that's certainly doable from a staff perspective.
Thank you. Councillor Vadabunker.
Thank you, Worship. It's my understanding through discussions with the director when we were reviewing the positions that came forward from the Public Works Department that there is quite a rigorous process that staff, especially the senior management team, have to go through when they're proposing positions. And the positions that come forward for consideration by council have gone through that process to look at the cost, look at the role, look at the benefit, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just wondering how your suggestion would be treated. Is it kind of going around that process, or is it to go into that process and be evaluated and then a recommendation come forward?
Great question. Well, that's asked the CO. CO Lees, was this role gone through the format and the process that Councillor Vadabunker has identified?
Through your worship, the communications role did not get brought forward as has been requested by the mayor. Did not go through the process that all of our other roles did go through. There's definitely been conversation internally between both the Director of Legislative Services and myself about communications and what does that look like. From our perspective, we do a bang-up job today from a communications and IT perspective, but we do see how that role continues to be stretched thin. So definitely there's been conversation internally about it, but for a number of reasons we decided not to put it through that process that the other positions went through as committee seen on October 29th.
Any further comments, questions? Okay, so the motion is just, we're going to bring it for discussion at budget next week. Thank you. We have mover and second. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That carries. And we'll move the motion as before, so that the recommendations contained within the special committee of the whole report, budget number 1, related to the finance and corporate service section, be approved. We'll look for a mover for that. Councillor Leroux, seconded by Councillor Vadabunker. For the comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. 16, motions of which notice has previously been given. We have none. 17 is notice of motion. Any members of council wish to present a notice of motion this evening? Seeing none. Council, before I read the statement, does anybody wish to have any comments on the bylaws before us tonight? Okay. As per the strong mayor legislation passed by the province of Ontario on May the 1st, 2025, I, Mayor Doug Ross, hereby decide to not exercise the power to veto the following bylaws passed at the Town of Penetanguishene Council meeting on November the 12th, 2025, in accordance with subsection 284.11.4A1 of the Municipal Act. And Council, the bylaws for this evening. The Council of the Town of Penetanguishene introduced the following bylaws. Bylaw 2025-45 being a bylaw regarding the appointment of a bylaw winter roads operators, and bylaw 2025-46 being a bylaw to appoint an interim fire chief, and that the bylaws be read a first time, deemed to read a second, a third time, and carried. We'll look for a mover, please. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Vadabunker. Comments and questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Deputy Mayor, County Simcoe update, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We've had a number of county meetings over the last month, most of which has been pertaining to the boundary expansion between the city of Barrie and the townships of Oro and Springwater. County has taken a position that we are okay with it on the residential components, but we have an issue with the industrial part of the motion. So we're going to continue at county level to work through that as good as we can. The other thing council will note is that we did our second draft of our budget on Monday, and it was quite a long deliberation. We were only there about 5.5 hours yapping about the budget and numbers and what's in and what's out. But it looks like it'll be 3.5% that'll be coming for ratification on the 25th. So that should help us along, help carry along, make sure that we're using the same number. With that, Your Worship, that was a whole lot of time spent on a couple of little issues, but they are important.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Maybe if I can, we'll just give a little update. 2 meetings ago, Simcoe County Housing Corporation met, and we talked about expansions in the town of Penetanguishene. Do you want to share that?
You can if you want, or I can if you want. It was so long ago, I almost forgot. As council is aware of the county-owned building across the road from the arena, it is a 2-story building. It is in need of a new roof. The amount of money it's going to take to rip off the whole roof and put a whole new roof on, staff looked at it and said, if we're going to rip it off, we might as well raise it 1 more story, add on 13 more units, and then put the new roof on top. So we can look forward to that building being turned into from 1 extra story up, 2 sets of elevators and a whole new exterior. So that'll be exciting coming up in 2026 is when it's supposed to start.
Yeah, it's really good. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. And, you know, when the county looked at housing stock in North Simcoe, no places were really accessible. So it was the first site designated for elevator. And that's, to your point, we're going to add in 13 units. So it's a really positive thing for the community. There's another one, too, that we're working on. We'll talk about that next time. Okay, Council, we'll move on to the next items, the announcements and inquiries. Councillor LaRue, you always have one, so we're going to start with you.
2 or 3. Thank you, Your Worship. Any announcements, first of all, is Christmas tree lighting at 5:30, December 5th at the Town Dock, and it would be followed by other festive events at the community center. The other thing I think I would point out, it might be, I think, appropriate for council and administrative staff to send a message of condolences to Midland Councillor Bill Meredith on the passing of his father, Tommy. And then finally, I just want to give a shout out to Mariah Marchand for the great programs she has organized for the 55+, mostly being held at the Brian Orser Hall.
Thank you very much, Councillor LaRue. Councillor Marchand.
I just want to remind everyone that Christmas on the Hill is Thursday, November 20th, so next Thursday evening. So come out and support our local merchants and stores on the 20th over on our main street.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Any other members, announcements, or inquiries? Councillor Bunker.
Thank you. Just, excuse me, just a quick announcement that the Peel Street Streetscape redesign Public Information Center, which was originally scheduled for that same evening on the 20th, has been pushed a week to the 26th. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements or inquiries? Councillor, if you can indulge me for 1 minute, I'd like to share. So last night I was at the Legion dinner. Councillor Rue, you're with me for that. And I think the Legion does a phenomenal job at everything they do. But I thought I'd share this with us tonight. So at the Veterans Dinner last night, they share about a member that served and lost their life in one of the world wars, and they want us not to forget as a community. So last night, it was about Lance Corporal Charles Heber Wright, the individual shown in the photo here. And when you hear a little bit of the story, it's heartbreaking. But you know, this is someone whose name was etched on our cenotaph, and it brings to life about the service and the work. So I'll just share a little bit if I can. So Charles Heber Wright was born March 26, 1892 in Penetangwisheen. He was the son of the late George Herbert and Jane Wright. He lists his profession as being a hardware merchant. He was educated at the Protestant Separate Primary School, followed by 4 years of high school in Penetangwisheen High School. From a newspaper write-up, he was an enthusiastic sportsman, several seasons at the Penetangwisheen Ontario Hockey Association, as well as many other amateur sports. He was a popular, bright young man with a bright future in front of him. When he answered the call for his king and country, Lance Corporal Wright enlisted in the 4th Overseas McGill University's Company on the 4th of October, 1915 in Toronto at the age of 23. He was offered commission, but he was preferred to go as a private so he could go overseas sooner. He died 9 days after landing in France. 9 days is how long he was there. After the battle was over, the Canadian company searched, and they were not able to find his body, and he was lost. They spent some time wondering if he was a prisoner in prisoner of war in German camps, and they were never able to recover his body. 5 years later, the government provided the following medals of recognition for his service to his mother: the British War Medal, the Victory Medal, and the War Service Badge A. And again, they were sent to his mother on September the 10th, 1921. If you ever get to Ottawa, you'll see the Book of Remembrance that we've seen when we've been there. Lance Corporal Wright is remembered on page 185 of the Book of Remembrance in Ottawa, and his name is engraved on the Penetangwisheen cenotaph. I want to share that because I think, you know, these stories affect so many people. And I just want to share one more thing if I can. You know, we commented about the Remembrance Day ceremony yesterday, and it was so well attended, and I think it's so well done, and I think our Legion deserves so much of that credit and the work that they do in the community. But every one of our tables yesterday, they had little cards, and they've been working with the school groups, and it was about the school celebrating something. So at our table, this student from grade 2, lest we forget the front, and it said, "Thank you for being brave for us." And that's what that student did to celebrate and share. And I think these are just important things that we share and celebrate. And I just thought it was important to share that with everyone here tonight. On that note, Council, we're going to move on to our confirmation bylaw. The confirmation bylaw 2025-47 be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. It's moved by Councillor Waters, second by Councillor DeRush. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. We're going to look for a motion to adjourn at 8:28. And again, that's moved by Councillor Roux and Councillor Vadabonker. Thank you, everyone. And Sarah, like 10 minutes? Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're going to call our committee of the whole meeting. Man, I'm off kilter tonight. Committee of the whole meeting in order for Wednesday, November the 12th, 2025 at 8:35 p.m. Motion is for the approval agenda. The committee of the whole agenda for November 12th, 2025 be approved as presented. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Waters. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that's carried. Anybody have a declaration of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none. Delegations, presentations, we have none. Council, anybody wish to pull anything from the council information package for comment or question? Councillor Marchand.
Yeah, I'm asking to pull one item out of the October meeting. It was number 9, correspondence from the community regarding the cricket pitch, and also just want to make a comment about the SSEA Q3 highlight report.
The floor is yours.
Okay, I think as we were just talking about the MERC and the changing needs of our communities and sports enthusiasts, I'd like to see, I know we're in the middle of our recreation plan, but is there an opportunity to just kind of bring that forward and as some feedback to that recreation plan? I think as we look at diversity in the community, I just think that it warrants that it gets a bit of attention if it could just be brought to the attention of the work that's being done on that report.
Councillor Marchand, when I received that, I forwarded it to Director Desjardins, and she has included them into the rec master plan. And I believe I think the survey closed, but I think they were included in the next round of discussion and fact finding. So I know they have been embedded in that process. Director Desjardins, anything to add on that?
I apologize, Councillor Marchand. I missed the first part of your comment. I'm assuming you received some input on the plan?
No, the correspondence about the cricket pitch, if it could be considered in the rec plan, that's.
Thank you. Yes, through your worship. We have been having some correspondence with members of the public about that and been engaging Monteith Brown in those discussions. Thank you.
Is that good?
Yeah.
And you had another item?
Yeah, I would also just like to bring staff's attention, or excuse me, not staff, to council and staff's attention though. The SSCA, our Q3 quarterly report is there. There's a new infograph and they've been doing a lot of work on really synergizing information and really highlighting the great work that they're doing. Q3 was extremely busy for this group. They do so much for our community and they are at every event, every initiative, and are really just doing so much as it relates to our watershed and really the environment overall, sustainability and other pieces. But there's one thing that did come up at our Q3 meeting that I wanted to highlight, that this year alone for fiscal 2026, they have successfully received $465,000 in grants. That's almost $500,000. And they've already secured $125,000 in grant funding into next year. This is a small but mighty group who represent our municipality and all of their partners with such pride, but their ability to write grants and receive funding is really outstanding, and I think it was just really important for us to highlight that, and this continues to leverage all of the great work that they're doing and sustain and maintain costs as well for our partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Councillor Bunker.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to comment on an announcement that was in the November 5th Council Information Package, item 3A, and that was the announcement from the county that through grant dollars that they've received, that they're going to be building a new pickleball court at Georgian Village. So, and it's going to be open to the community, the public, as well as residents in at Georgian Village. So I know that we have quite an avid pickleball group in Penetanguishene, so this would be welcome news, I'm sure, that there'll be an additional pickleball court, and it's scheduled to open in the spring of 2026. So just a great announcement in our package. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bunker. Any other comments or questions on any CIP? Seeing none. So the motion reads that the council information package having been given due consideration be received for information. Again, we have two, one for October 22nd, 2025, November the 5th, 2025. We'll call for our mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Marchand. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor Bunker, Transportation Environmental Services section, please.
Thank you, Worship. Speak to the Transportation Environmental Services section. We have one item on the consent agenda. It's the Midland Penetanguishene Transit Ridership Quarterly Update, Q3 2025. Any questions or comments on this? I'll read the motion and I'll ask for a mover and seconder that the following consent agenda item, having been given due consideration, be received for information. Midland Penetanguishene Transit Ridership Quarterly Update Q3 2025. Have a mover, please. Deputy Mayor, seconder, Councillor Marshaw. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. So I have no items for consideration this evening. We have two items that remain on the referral list, the septage disposal and treatment resolution, and the expected date for an update is Q1 of 2026, and a review of the level of service policy for pothole repairs, and the expected date for that is also Q1 2026. Are there any additional referrals that anybody wishes to add? Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council, I'd love to add a new referral item about road safety measures. This council took steps and we brought forward automated speed enforcement. Legislation's changed that we no longer can use automated speed enforcement as of Friday. I'd love to have staff come back with a report with what are some additional road safety measures that we can put in place specifically for our community safety zones that we've brought in place. I know the province has said that there's tools and processes are going to provide, but I'd love to look at what are some additional things we can bring forward to make road safety a priority. So I'd love to move that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Worship. Any other items for referral? If I could just speak to that, your referral request, Your Worship, I think it would be very helpful if there were costs associated with that. So not only recommendations, but costs, because I think there might be an opportunity to make a submission to the province with respect to funding. So if it comes in one package, then I think we'll have all the information. So are you going to move that, Your Worship? And may I have a seconder for that? Councillor Waters. So, Madam Clerk, you have that referral item captured?
I do. Thank you, Councillor Vadabokar.
Okay, so you've heard, oh, sorry, Councillor Marshall?
I just wonder, is this premature given the report that was in our council meeting package, given that and maybe I'm assuming, but perhaps Director Murray can clarify, that the province was also going to talk about, they were going to provide kind of some tools or money so that we could put towards it. Is this the cart before the horse, or trying to be proactive? I'm not opposed to it. I just didn't know if this was maybe a little premature, just given the report that we just had at council with regards to speed enforcement cameras, because there was talks that the province was also going to provide some additional funding and support. So that's just a question about that one.
Thank you, Councillor. Director Murray, are you able to respond to the councillor's question?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Marshall. It is through the province's announcement regarding the prohibition of automated speed enforcement. They did indicate that there would be potential funding for physical traffic calming measures. I haven't seen any details yet. They haven't released any details associated with that yet, but that was included as part of the province's announcement.
Thank you, Director Murray. Any further questions? I believe we had a seconder for that, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll call for the vote to add that to the referral list. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Any other referrals? Seeing none, I'll read the motion that the Transportation Environmental Services section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff: the septage disposal and treatment resolution, the level of service policy, and traffic calming measures that was added by council just a minute ago. So any further comments or questions? May I have a mover? Deputy Mayor, a seconder? Councillor LaRue. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Any questions from the media? From the public? Anybody on the public? Thank you. Your worship, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Vadebonker. Moving on to 7, Section B, Recreation Community Services. Going to turn the chair to Councillor LaRue, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Under the consent agenda, we have 2 items, and it's that the following consent agenda items haven't been given due consideration be received for information. One is the Tourist Information Center 2025 summary, and the other is the Museum and Heritage Committee minutes of September 11th, 25. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? Do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Marchand, all in favor? Thank you. Under matters for consideration, we have one, which is the St. Anne's Agreement for Outdoor Rink, Attachment 1, St. Anne's Agreement for Outdoor Rink 2025 to 2029, that the draft use of church lands as a temporary outdoor rink agreement between the town of Penetanguishene and St. Anne's Epicus Church be approved as outlined in Attachment 1, and that the Chief Administrative Officer and Director of Recreation Community Service are hereby authorized to make minor alterations to the agreement that does not substantially change its content, and finally that staff bring forward the necessary bylaw for council approval. Any comments, concerns, or questions? Mover, Councillor Waters, and the second by Councillor DeRush. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Referrals to the upcoming agenda, we have none unless somebody wants to add some, or 1 or 2. Anyone have anything that want to add to the referrals? No, then that is great. Then the referrals is that the Recreation Community Service section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agenda and staff. Mover, Deputy Mayor, seconder, worship, all in favor? Carried. Question period, media and public? None. Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor LaRue. 8, Section C, Planning and Community Development Services section. Councillor DeRush, please.
Thank you very much. So the Planning and Community Development Services has 4 consent agenda items. The first is a memo from the Municipal Law Enforcement Officer regarding a monthly activity report for September. The second are the August 25th Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes. The third is a Planning Community Development third quarter report. And finally, we have a memo from the Director of Planning Community Development regarding proposed building code amendments, development charge payment and occupancy. Does anyone wish to speak to any of these? Yes. So which one is it? Okay, so you have the floor.
Thank you. I appreciate these municipal bylaw enforcement officer reports, but I don't know if monthly serves us. I'm comfortable getting them quarterly. No other department provides us this level of detail monthly. I think we've up-leveled the department. I'm seeing positive things. I'm seeing and hearing positive things. I think this level of detail, I don't need to see monthly. I'd be comfortable seeing these move to quarterly. So I just wanted to just make that mention. If staff want to take that or you want a motion, however, I'd be happy to. I just want to make that comment.
Thank you. Did you want to speak to that, Director Betty?
Certainly. Thank you very much, Councillor DeRosa. We'd be happy to consolidate them into quarterly reports instead of monthly. And I think as you see on tonight's agenda, we actually do a quarterly P&D update. So we'll just merge those 2 reports into one.
Great. Thank you.
Just my view.
Yep. Any other comments on any of these? Seeing none, I'll read the motion that the following consent agenda items having been given due consideration be received for information. It's a memo from the Municipal Law Enforcement Officer, Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes, Planning Community Development third quarter report, and the memo from the Director of Planning Community Development. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor LaRue. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. We have a few matters for consideration, and the first is the zoning bylaw amendment for 39 Point Street, file number ZA1-2025. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding this item? Seeing none, I'll read the motion then that the zoning bylaw amendment file number ZA1/2025 application be approved on the basis that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the County of Simcoe official plan, conforms to the Town of Penetanguishene official plan, and represents good planning for the reason outlined in staff report PL-2025-36, and that a bylaw to amend the Town of Penetanguishene comprehensive zoning bylaw 2022-17 be brought forward for council approval. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Wedemoker. We'll go to the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. The next item is a heritage alteration permit policy, and I trust that you did read the policy. Do we have any comments or questions regarding this policy? Yes, Councillor Marsha.
Yeah, I just want to commend that we're putting something in place and that removes the ambiguity and ensures that there's some parameters for the department to work under. So appreciate the work on this.
Thank you very much. I'll read the motion that the Heritage Alteration Policy Attachment Number 1 to Report PL-2025-35 be approved, and that the authority to consent to certain types of alterations outlined in the Heritage Alteration Policy be delegated to the Director of Planning, Community Development, or designate, and finally that staff be directed to amend delegated authority bylaw 2018-60 accordingly. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor LaRue, seconded by Councillor Marchand. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. The next item is the short-term rental licensing program software update. And again, I trust that you have read this report. Do we have any questions or require additional information? Yes, Councillor Marchand.
I just had a question on, do we even need the 24-hour complaint line? I think based on the report, there was minimal call-ins. And if we were able, I'll be honest, I wasn't clear if we could get out of that portion completely, but I'm really questioning. I know may only seem like 700 this year, but then it was like, has significant increases year over year, like inflationary increases. But just based on the call volume, I don't know that it warrants that we still even keep that in place. So just some comment on that.
Okay, I believe the motion does read that we get rid of that 24-hour complaint line. That's okay. That's okay. That's good then? Okay, Councillor Wedemoker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to staff to bring forward this report. And I appreciate that they looked into whether we have the ability to separate out the 24-hour, 24/7 hotline without purchasing any of the other modules, and we can do that. And as Councillor Marchand alluded to, the cost for that is $264 for 2026, and it goes up to $850 in 2027 and $924 in 2028. So it's a nominal cost for a service, I think, that we're not able to provide as a municipality, because we do not provide 24-hour, 7-day-a-week municipal law enforcement service. So I look at it akin to insurance. If we pay for it, it's there. If somebody wants to make a complaint at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, they've got somewhere they can complain. And there are processes in place that Granicus can contact the responsible person, let them know that there's an issue, and the matter can get resolved through that process. So I'm going to be supporting maintaining the 24/7 hotline. I think, again, it's a nominal cost, and it's a service, I think, that if our residents use it, it's great. If it's not used, it's still there as kind of an insurance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those comments. We actually had the discussion at section, and the director did bring clarity to the complaint line. It only applies to registered properties. So we have 15. We have 15 properties, and so if somebody wants to complain, they can only complain about those 15. It's not a complaint line where they can complain about a property that's being used as a short-term rental, and that is, you can't. That's not what this complaint line is for. It's only for the registered short-term rentals. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for that clarification. Madam Chair, that sounds a little odd to me because one of the things, and I believe it's in our AMPS bylaw, our Administrative Monetary Penalties bylaw, is that there is a penalty for somebody operating a short-term rental that's not licensed. So I think that might be helpful for us to know if somebody's operating a short-term rental. It might not be one of the 16. Maybe it's one that's it's operating and it's not licensed. So it strikes me as a little odd that, you know, we would probably want that information so that we could pursue that individual and either deal with them under the penalty provision or ask them to stop operating.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, but this hotline isn't the tool because they would not, is that correct? Director Betty, maybe you can bring clarification to that.
Yeah, thank you very much through you, Councillor DeRoche. So as you mentioned, this is for only licensed STR operators. If someone complains to that 24/7 hotline, if you are licensed, you will reach out to the responsible person and that violation may be addressed. However, if you're an unlicensed short-term rental and you're operating and you have noise, or you're just operating, your neighbor's complaining because you don't have a license for it, calling into this line won't trigger anything until bylaw staff come in the next day to complete an investigation. So my understanding of this hotline was really around to address problem properties when there are violations happening after hours, and I don't believe that this program does that. It's limited to only those that are licensed, so that's why we're recommending eliminating it. I believe that we have a process in place around bylaw complaints where if there's an illegal STR operating, that a complaint into our bylaw staff would be sufficient to start that investigation.
Thank you for those comments. Any other comments? Seeing none, then I will read the motion that the proposed changes to the administration of the short-term rental licensing program include the elimination of the use of the Granicus software used for short-term rental property identification and for the 24-hour complaint telephone line be approved. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Renamoker. Was that no? Okay, seconded by Councillor Leroux. Any other comments before we go to the vote? Yes, Councillor Renamoker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move a motion to amend the recommendation to delete the reference to the 24-hour complaint hotline.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'd like to get a seconder for that.
See, I don't see any. Councillor Renamoker.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the original motion stands then. We'll go to the vote. All in favor? Opposed? And the motion is carried. The next item is the downtown parking changes results of public consultation. And I'm sure that you've read this report. Are there any questions or additional comments that need to be made for this report? No? Seeing none, I'll read the motion. That staff be directed to include the changes to parking restrictions on a portion of Main Street, 3 spaces on Brock Street, from a 30-minute time limit to a 2-hour time limit, and that staff be directed to report back to Committee of the Whole on implementing a parking permit program for both overnight residential passes and daytime on-street parking permit passes. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Mayor Rawson. We'll go to the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Referrals. So we do have the one referral item remaining on the list. Are there any additions that need to be made to this referral list? Seeing none, then, that the Planning and Community Development Services section endorse the following additional existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. 161 Church Street, and it's to look at options for future use, including parkland or other options to define and clarify use. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor LaRose, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any comments before we go to the vote? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, the motion is carried. Are there any questions from the media or the public? Seeing none, we'll send it back to you, Mayor Rawson.
Thank you. 9, Section D, Finance and Corporate Services section. Turn the chair to Councillor Marchand.
Thank you, Your Worship. For Finance and Corporate Services, under the consent agenda items, we have 3 items. Before I read the motion, is anyone interested in pulling any of the 3? Memos from the Chief Administrative Officer, the 2025 quarterly Q3 financial summary, and the 2026 developmental charges annual indexing. Seeing none, I will look to put that on the floor, that the following consent agenda items, having been given due consideration, be received for information. The memo from the Chief Administrative Officer, the 2025 third quarter financial summary, and the 2026 development charges index. Can I get a mover? Councillor DeRush, seconder, Councillor Waters. All those in favor? That motion carries. We have a few items under matters for consideration. The first one is, the first item is the authorize the temporary borrowing of funds to meet current expenditures. Is there any questions with regards to that report? Okay, seeing none, I'll read the motion that the Mayor and Director of Finance Treasurer are authorized to temporarily borrow funds if required to meet current expenditures until 2026 taxes are collected, and that staff bring forward the necessary bylaw for council approval. Can I get a mover? Councillor Waters, seconder, Councillor Betancourt. All those in favor? And that's carried. The next item is the 2026 fees and charges bylaw update. Any questions or comments with regards to the attached report for 2026? Your Worship, go ahead.
Thank you. Memory recalls earlier this year, we partnered with the town of Midland to do a user fee review for Midland and Penetanguishene, and we put money in with Midland to do that. I'm just wondering if we can get a little status update on that.
CAO Lees.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, Madam Chair, the Director and I actually talked about this today, so we will be providing an update in a little more fulsome manner at our December council meeting to give council some options. The short of it is we did receive results back from that RFP, the joint RFP with the town of Midland. We had one response that far exceeded the budget capacity between both the town of Penetanguishene and town of Midland. Council will recall that we each put $10,000 in our 2025 budgets to accomplish this project, and the response far exceeded that. So we will have a report coming on at the December COW meeting, providing Committee of the Whole here some options on how to proceed. And we'll also hopefully have a better idea then where our friends in Midland might be heading with this. We do know that they're in the midst of a recreation master plan process, so hopefully by then we'll have a better idea where Midland's heading as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other comments or questions with regards to this report? Seeing none, I will proceed to read the motion that the proposed amendments to the fees and charges be approved, and that new fees and charges take effect January 1st, 2026. And finally, that staff bring forward the necessary bylaw for council approval. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Betancourt. All those in favor? That motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the 2026 interim tax property levy. Is there any questions from members of council with regards to that report? Seeing none, I'll read that motion that staff be directed to proceed with the 2026 interim property tax levy as outlined in this report, and that staff bring forward the necessary bylaw for council approval. Can I get a mover? Councillor Leroux, seconded. Deputy LaRose, although I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? That abstain, that motion is carried. Thank you very much. Next, we have item G, which is heads and beds payment in lieu of taxes strategy. You have the various attachments and some background information on this. Any questions with regards to the strategy as presented in the report? Your Worship?
No questions. Just a couple of comments if I can. Council, you know we've worked hard about the CNCC policing costs, and we've been working hard, and the council has given some direction for myself and the CEO to move forward on our behalf. You also know we've delegated on the municipality's behalf regarding heads and beds. We've done that several times in the background here. We think this is related indirectly to the CNC policing costs. We're missing revenue opportunities in the community. I think this report's well done. I appreciate the CEO pulling this together. But it's really about how we can continue to advocate, and how do we advocate stronger than just doing a delegation. And I think there's other municipalities in our same position that we need to add a little bit of fuel to the fire in this one. So the report goes on about what that looks like. And it's more than this. It could mean that we look at partnering with other municipalities, and we look at some lobbyists to support our efforts. So there's a number of mechanisms we need to do, but if you look at the mock tax bill that our treasurer put together, we're missing out significant dollars, and we're not asking for that. We're just saying the 37-year-old formula needs to be updated, and that's all we're asking for, is to be respectful for what this is. So council, I just wanted to just emphasize, appreciate the work that's been in, but the CEO is just looking for a little bit of support from this council if this is a path we want to go down together. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you, Your Worship. Any other comments? I would agree. I had the opportunity to be at AMO the last 2 years, and we've delegated each time, and it just seems to be, yeah, this is great information, but you're right, it's very outdated, and there's a need for it, for sure. Okay, I'm going to proceed and read the motion that the strategy in continuing to lobby the provincial government to bring fairness to the heads and beds payment in lieu of taxes rate, as outlined in staff report CAO 2025-11, be supported by council. Can I get a mover? Deputy LaRose, seconder. Councillor Waters. All those in favor? That motion carries. And the final item, false alarms bylaw update. The bylaw has been amended and is updated. Before I read the motion, is there any questions or comments with regards to this report? Okay, seeing none. That the proposed changes to the false alarm bylaw be implemented, and that staff bring forward the false alarm bylaw for council approval. Can I get a mover? Councillor Duroche, seconder. Deputy LaRose. All those in favor? That motion carries. Referral to upcoming agenda items. Currently, there are none on the docket. Does anyone have any to add? Not making like, oh, Your Worship, do you have a? Your Worship, go ahead.
Thank you. Council, I'd like to add a new referral item. And I'll tell you a little bit of the background where this comes from. And I did talk to the CEO, so he's aware of what this looks like. And I'm going to call it a path forward for truth and reconciliation. AMO has published a document that talks about how municipalities can move forward with the recommendations from the Truth and Reconciliation. And I bring this forward because, and I'm sure other members of council have also faced this, there are members of the community that have come to me and they have said, we should get a free launching pass at the launching ramp. And that's what we should do for Truth and Reconciliation. And I know this summer I had 5 people come to me about that circumstance. And I said, well, write a letter and bring it through and we'll talk about it as a council. And I think sometimes we look at these in silo approach. And I'm wondering, how does that relate? And we've done work on our land acknowledgement, but what I'm looking at is what's our work plan? And how does that work plan attach to what those action items are? And again, I think AMO has done some work on that. So as opposed to us looking in isolation about a request like the launching ramp, how does it fit into the entire program and process, and what's that path forward look like? And I don't know the answer, but I'd love to make a referral and just let staff take it away and do a little research and look at best practices and see about the position statement from AMO and other areas, and come back with some guidelines and some recommendations that we can assess, that we bring this forward, because we all committed on September 30th that this is not going to be just on the one day of the year, that we're going to actively be in the spirit of reconciliation. And I wanted to bring that forward for us to have an honest conversation.
Is that enough direction to staff? Did you need something formulated?
Through you, Madam Chair, no, I think that gives the depth and details that the mayor has noted.
Great. So we'll, you need a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by, sorry, by Your Worship as seconder. I'm happy to second that. I can second that, right? Councillor Marshall, can I not as the section? Yeah, I'll second that. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, any other items before I read the final piece here? That the Finance and Corporate Services section endorse the following additional and existing referral to upcoming agendas and staff, the path for truth and reconciliation. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Waters, second by Councillor DeRush. All those in favor? That motion carries. Any questions from the public or media? Seeing none, I'll pass it back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. I'm looking for motion to adjourn at 9:10 p.m. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Waters. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.